PeopleSoft Cloud Manager is an orchestration tool to provision and manage PeopleSoft environments on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or OCI. This video discusses provisioning and managing environments in Cloud Manager. Check out the Spotlight Series page on the PeopleSoft Information Portal for other videos in the series. This PeopleSoft Spotlight Series for Cloud Manager is based on Image 18. This segment begins by describing how to prepare for provisioning by verifying the contents of the repository, adding an SSH key in Cloud Manager, and setting up a password group. We demonstrate how to create topology, environment template, and provision an environment. We will review environment management features such as managing environment attributes, passwords, tags, and PUM connections, associate policies, monitor environment, autoscale setting, configure load balancer, and recommendation settings. We will review the actions available for a provisioned environment, including stop, delete, clone, backup and restore, manage nodes, and delegate access. We'll then review lifecycle features, PeopleTools upgrade and update, and finish with a list of additional resources. To prepare for environment provisioning, first go to the My Settings page. Entering the public SSH key here will ensure that the key will be added to any environments we provision, which allows us to access the environment with SSH to view log files, for example. Create a password group and select the secrets for the passwords you will use, then save. We will be able to select the password group when creating an environment. Next, review the items in the repository. The steps for creating an OCI vault for password management and setting up the repository were demonstrated in the previous Cloud Manager Spotlight video. Installing and configuring Cloud Manager. We have subscriptions to PeopleTools 8.6.0 and 8.6.1, HCM, and Interaction Hub. Now proceed to environment provisioning. To provision an environment, we first need to define the topology and environment template. Topology in Cloud Manager refers to a set of nodes, or essentially virtual machines. By default, Cloud Manager is delivered with topologies for PUM full tier, lift and shift, and lift and shift DBAS. The lift and shift topologies are used for migrating environments from on-premises to Oracle Cloud. The lift and shift DBAS topology is used when the database is deployed on Oracle Database as a Service. The PUM full tier has one Linux node with a full tier PeopleSoft environment, which includes the database on compute and a single application server, single web server, and single process scheduler. It also includes a PeopleSoft client node on a Windows operating system. If you want to use one of the default topologies, you must select a shape. You can also change the size. We will create a new topology, DB mid-tier, with a database on compute and a Linux mid-tier node. Database on compute refers to database tier installed on an OCI compute instance rather than database service. We select the shapes for the database node. We accept the default 150 GB for the size and iSCSI for the block attachment type. Add another node for the middle tier on Linux and select the shape and size. Keep the enabled tiers on the Linux node for App Server, Web Server, and Process Scheduler. Next, we create the template. An environment template is a repeatable blueprint to be used when deploying PeopleSoft environments. We will create a template for HCM environments that is based on the topology we created called DB mid-tier. Enter a name and description. The PeopleSoft image drop-down list displays the images available in the repository. We select HCM Update Image 49. Click Next to select the Topology DB mid-tier. Note that this is the default topology. You have the option to add additional topologies that can be used with this template. Select the password group. These passwords will be used for environments based on this template. It is also possible to leave the password group field blank. If you don't specify a password group for the template, the user must enter them when provisioning an environment. The custom attributes define the default values to use when provisioning an environment with this template. Select the region, compartment, and availability domain for the environments created with the template. Select an availability domain with sufficient resources, such as compute instances. You can assign a tag to the template. Use tags to take advantage of features such as role-based security and to select groups of environments when creating policies. For information on creating tag namespaces and defined tags, refer to the Cloud Manager installation tutorial. Create defined tags in Oracle Cloud Infrastructure for PeopleSoft Cloud Manager. Expand database tier and general settings. Enter a database name and database operator ID. The OS Users and Groups field displays the default users such as PSAdam1, PSAdam2, and PSAdam3 that would be installed for the Linux operating system. You can specify your own custom users and groups to be used for the environments provisioned with this template. See Support for Custom Usernames and Locations in the Cloud Manager Image 17 Highlights video. You can use the fields for pre-provisioned custom scripts, post-provision custom scripts, Puppet customizations, custom Puppet script, and Cloud init commands to include your own custom scripts, files, and DPKs as part of the provisioning task. The custom scripts were described in the Cloud Manager Image 18 Highlights video in the segment Support for Diverse Deployment Architecture. Network security groups are set up outside of Cloud Manager and give you more control of the security rules for environment components. Refer to the Cloud Manager installation tutorial. Use custom or private network resources with PeopleSoft Cloud Manager. Optional. Each availability domain in OCI contains 3 fault domains for high availability. OCI randomizes the availability domains by tenancy to help balance capacity in data centers. We accept the default, OCI default, which means that OCI will randomly select the fault domain. We also accept the default settings for Linux kernel parameters and new limit values. These settings should only be changed by operating system experts. Expand the middle tier section to specify the necessary attributes. You can also specify custom users and custom scripts for the middle tier. You can also customize the host name for the middle tier node. The sections for Web Server, Application Server, and Process Scheduler include the appropriate settings for each. For example, the Web Server settings includes the number of domains, authentication domain, HTTP and HTTP ports, domain name, and site name. When we click Validate Network, we see that the validation was successful. This checks for open ports and a valid network. Next, define the security and policies associated with the template. Zone is a logical grouping of environments based on their use. For example, all development environments could belong to a development zone, and all testing environments could belong to a testing zone. Cloud Manager currently does not use this for any purpose other than categorizing the environments. Zones include test development and production. A template can have multiple zones. Select the role that will have access to the template for creating environments. We select the Cloud Administrator role, PACL_CAD. Select a policy or policy group to automatically enable the policies with environments created from the template. Once the PeopleSoft administrator has created the templates, a self-service user can quickly provision an environment based on an existing template. Click Create Environment, enter a name and description, and select the HCMDB mid-tier template. We will not pause the provisioning after the infrastructure creation. The File System Linux mid-tier section is used for environments with multiple middle tiers. You can set up a file system in the OCI file storage service and use it for multiple middle tiers to share the same PS Home, PS App Home, and PS Cust Home. Most of the information on this page has been carried over from the template. Because we are using a password group, there's no need to enter any passwords at this point. If your environment includes multiple application server and web server domains, you can use the Domain Connections page to specify which application server domain is connected to which web server domain. See Improving Production Web Server and Integration Broker Deployments in the Cloud Manager Image 15 Highlights video. After you have entered all of the information, click Done to begin provisioning. The environment begins provisioning with the status of initiating. You can view the grid or the card. This status will change to provisioning. It will take some time for the environment to provision. After a few minutes, go to the details for the environment and look at the logs generated by the process. You can also follow the provisioning on the Task Status page. When the provisioning is completed, the environment status will show running. On the Environment Details page, click Refresh Metadata and then Diagrammatic View to see a graphic of the installed components. Hold the mouse over each component for details. Now we add a node to the environment. The Manage Node action allows you to add, remove, restart, start, or stop a node. We select Add Node. We want to add a search stack node on Linux. Region and availability domain fields use the values from the HCM Demo B environment. We select a shape. We accept the default to add both search and dashboards. Because our environment is built on PeopleTools 861, the search stack will be built with OpenSearch and OpenSearch dashboards. We check the remaining fields and accept the defaults for the users. The passwords come from the password group associated with the template. You have the option to customize users and groups and to use custom scripts for this node. Click Submit to begin the provisioning. The status on the HCM Demo B card changes to Add Node in Progress. When complete, a section for the search stack is added to the Details page. We can sign into the provisioned environment and notice that the global search box is available, indicating that the search stack was set up. Now let's look at features available for managing provisioned environments. Use the Manage Attributes page to modify configuration parameters for an environment after provisioning. For example, change the minimum or maximum instances in application server processes. See Enabling configuration changes to existing managed environments in the Image 15 Highlights video. Use the Manage Password page to reset passwords and make sure the passwords in an environment are synchronized with those in the Cloud Manager metadata. See Simplified Password Management using OCI Vault in the Image 16 Highlights video. You define tag namespaces and keys in OCI. Use this page to associate tags with an environment. Tags can be used with policies to associate a group of multiple environments to a specific policy. tags are required for receiving recommendations. See OCI tagging support in the Image 13 Highlights video. The Manage Pump Connections page is used for environments that can be used as a pump source for selective adoption. Use the Infrastructure CPU Patches page to apply critical patch updates to the infrastructure components such as Java Tuxedo, WebLogic, and Oracle Database Client. Use the Policies page to associate an environment with a policy or policy group. A later segment in this Spotlight series, using Orchestration Manager, will discuss using policies. Use the Monitoring page to enable monitoring services, which is required for autoscaling. You can also view graphs showing several metrics for a system. See the segment Additional Monitoring Metrics in the Image 16 Highlights video. Use the Autoscale Settings page to control notifications associated with scaling and monitoring events. Use the Load Balancer Settings page to configure or update load balancer settings. You must first set up the load balancer in OCI. See the segment on Configuring and Deploying Load Balancer as a Service in the Image 13 Highlights video. Use the Recommendation Settings page to enable recommendations for mid-tier scaling and applying infrastructure CPU patches. See Environment Advisories in the Image 17 Highlights video. You can find additional ways to manage your environment from the Related Actions menu. You can stop or delete the environment. Use the Clone page to duplicate an existing PeopleSoft environment running in Cloud Manager. The cloned environment doesn't have to be an exact copy because you can select the tiers you want to clone. Once the cloned environment is running, you can perform scaling and lifecycle management actions. Select Backup and Restore from the Environment Actions menu to take a backup of all nodes in the environment. You can also restore environments from backup. Use the Access Details page to grant permissions to users for specific actions on a selected environment. See Tagged-Based Environment Access Control in the Image 18 Highlights video. You can import a PeopleSoft environment that is running on Oracle Cloud into Cloud Manager. You can import all of the nodes in an environment at one time, or create an imported environment and later import other compute nodes separately. If you plan to import nodes to an imported environment as a separate process, the original imported environment must include at least the database system tier. After you select an instance type, such as full tier, to import, you see a form that you use to supply the necessary users' passwords, environment paths, and so on. The forms vary depending upon the instance type. Let's look at the pages to upgrade and update PeopleTools. To view the pages for PeopleTools Patch and Upgrade, we look at an FSCM environment that was built on PeopleTools 8.6.0. You can apply a PeopleTools patch, for example, to move from PeopleTools 8.6.0.11 to 8.6.0.14. Use the Upgrade PeopleTools page to move to a later major version, such as upgrading from PeopleTools 8.6.0.11 to 8.61.04. You see the links for applying a PeopleTools patch or upgrading only for those environments that include a Windows client node. An updated version of Change Assistant will be installed on the Windows client node and used for the update or upgrade. Here are some useful resources. You can download the companion slides with images and notes from this video from the Oracle Learning Library. See the PeopleSoft Cloud Manager homepage on My Oracle Support for additional information. You can find the highlights videos referenced in the Spotlight on the PeopleSoft Cloud Manager page on the PeopleSoft Information Portal. Use the link at the top of the page to see all PeopleSoft Cloud Manager videos. You can also find the version of this Spotlight developed for Cloud Manager Image 11 in the Cloud Manager section of the Spotlight Series page, which is also on the PeopleSoft Information Portal. The video includes several demonstrations that were not included here. See the PeopleSoft blog for timely updates. Go to the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure documentation for information about OCI Compute.